Welcome to Easy Eats. My name is Chef Yves Dechaine, and today we're in our newly renovated learning kitchen here at the Greener Village. And I have the privilege to host L.H.H.S' alternative learning program with Sarah.
Yep.
So today we're gonna show you a little bit of what the Learning Kitchen does. So we're hosting a class here with L.H.H.S. It's a skills program, basically just to teach them how to kind of fend for themselves a little bit. So let's talk about this program, your program, and tell us a little bit about what you guys offer at L.H.H.S.
Yeah, so this is the L.H.H.S. Learning Center. So we are an alternative learning education center based out of L.H.H.S. So it's specific to the school. There's a couple other centers around the province that have a similar type of program, maybe under a different name. But at L.H.H.S. it's kind of built over the last 5 to 10 years is my understanding. I've been there for the last 2 years.
Okay.
Basically, it's just an alternative learning space, individualized programs for certain students depending on a variety of needs, catering to those needs. So it's very special, very definitely new to education for sure.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you can't fit a round peg in a square hole, and trying to find ways to get kids interested or students interested in doing things. You've got to kind of think outside the box, I guess, right?
Exactly, and that's the thing, especially post-pandemic. We have seen that, there's a variety of different needs for students, and really trying to fit those needs and understanding that maybe a traditional classroom setting where students sitting there listening to a teacher for an hour at a time might not be the best fit for all students.
Right on. And how do you determine who sits in your class and who goes to regular class? Is there a criteria that they need to meet, or is there kind of something that steps they need to follow?
Yeah, it depends. Usually it is their educational support team, so vice principals, guidance counselors, even sometimes if their classroom teacher notices something, but it kind of comes from that team of teachers that surrounds the students from grades 9 to 10 at L.H.H.S. So they put in a referral, we get to meet with them, and then some students stay with us grades 9, 10, 11, 12. Some are just there for grade 12 to get a few courses that they need, and so on. So yeah, it's just a referral process based on what their team of teachers thinks that's best for them.
Well, that's fantastic. So I know we've been doing this with you guys for the last 3 years, I believe. It's a great program. I really enjoy having the students come in. What other types of programs do you guys go off-site a lot, or is this one of the only programs that you guys come and visit? Yeah,
this is one of the few off-site ones. L.H.H.S, who's another teacher at the Learning Center, he does a really great job with the outreach with the Learning Center, but most of the time it is people coming to us. We've got Partners for Youth, Canadian Mental Health Association, and some different outreach programs, but a lot of them, they come to us. So this is a great opportunity for the students to get out of the building, especially with the students that are with us for the whole morning. 3 hours can be a long time.
Absolutely.
To be in that one spot. So it's nice for them to get out into the community and doing something more hands-on for sure.
Absolutely. So what do you hope that the students will gain from a program like this?
Just different skills. Some of them, there are a few in here that do like to do cooking at home, baking at home. There might be a few that they don't really do this at home. So it's nice for them to kind of see what they can make, a good nutritional meal, what's involved in that. But even just, for some of them, just stepping out of their comfort zone too. That's always good. Doing some team building, that sort of thing. So just doing something different, something out of their comfort zone, but learning a good life skill along the way as well.
Well, absolutely. And I guess that's the next step. If people aren't keen on, well, I'm not saying keen on education, because everybody wants to learn and everyone learns in a different way, but this is, I guess, a great program if you're not sure what you're looking for, and it's a great way to kind of explore different aspects in a less structured way. Can I say it that way?
Yeah, and I think that is the case, is that we are at this kind of stage with the education system that there are a lot of different options, a lot of different pathways, that sometimes we have parents come in with students to meet with us and they don't realize how many different options there are. And this is just one of those many options. And even within it, we have a couple different pathways that a student can choose, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So I hate to talk about success rate because success is on the individual, but kids who run through this program, do you see them going on to higher education? Do they find success?
I would say even just last year from the pool of L.H.H.S graduates, I believe the Learning Center had about 15% of that whole grade 12 graduates was from the Learning Center.
Okay.
So a lot of times our students are going off to do trades a lot of the time, going off to NBCC. Some are going right into the workforce. They already have something lined up. So they're just wanting to get in, get out, get into the real world working away. But a lot of students have come to us and said, you know, they definitely, the traditional classroom setting wasn't working for them, and coming to with us where it is a bit more flexible, a bit more self-paced, that they've seen some success and even just feeling a bit more relaxed and being able to really just sit down and be productive in the way that they need to be.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So is it kind of left to them to kind of get their credits, but like you said, at their own pace, so they can say their interest is in mathematics. They can do 3 courses in mathematics to get the credits that they need?
So for our classes, again, students might be doing 3 classes with us, and they can do them in whatever order they want. They could do English for a half an hour, then do math. They could just do English for 2 weeks until it's done, and then switch over to math. So they can kind of pick and choose how they want to go about it. Even for some of our courses, you don't even need to do them in the exact order. They can kind of see what they're feeling like that day. And that's great, even as a teacher, to have that flexibility that on a day maybe where a student might be having a bit of a bad day, is that there's not that pressure to get through the curriculum for that specific day, because it's there for them when they're ready. So I've always loved that as an alternative education teacher, having the opportunity to maybe just sit and chat and get to know your students.
Absolutely.
Because that relationship building is a big piece, I think, of what helps any classroom, but especially down in the Learning Center. Getting to know your students is a big piece, and we have that flexibility to do that every day.
And like everybody, you're able to learn at your own pace. So if you're comfortable with different subjects, you can excel, feel good about yourself, and then if you're struggling, yeah, like you said, you can work on it for an hour, put it away, do something else, then bring it back. But yeah, awesome. Well, that's fantastic. The groups coming in, I noticed that there's different grade levels in my class right now. Do they work together in different grade levels, or is it kind of grade 9s get specific attention and then they kind of graduate or go from grade to grade from there?
Yeah, so we are fortunate that we do have courses grade 9 to 12. Our grade 9 courses, we mainly focus on the foundations of math and English. So we have less courses kind of at the lower grade levels. Grade 10, we venture out to having English, math, science, and civics. And then from grade 11 and 12, we have kind of the variety of the basic courses. You got your math, your histories, your Englishes, all that kind of thing, your science courses. So there's some students that might come for us to grade 9. They do their courses, and then they go back to a traditional classroom setting in grade 10. So there is that flexibility for them to move back and forth. There's some students that might be with us grade 10 onward, and that's just the path they choose for graduation and what works best for them. So we definitely have a variety of courses for each grade level. Definitely at the lower grade level, a little less options, but still covering those foundational courses.
Okay, so my next question is that you can kind of follow the traditional curriculum, but say if you're having difficulty in math and science, you can come to the resource center or to the learning center and sit and work those classes there, correct? Or do you have to be fully immersed into this program?
So my understanding is that over the last few years it has become a bit more like we might get a placement for someone for a math class for that one period. We would call that a blended placement. So they come down for period 1 and then they do the rest of their classes in the rest of the building. So definitely a variety, again, as long as we offer the course and it seems like it's the best fit based on what their educational support team believes, then yeah, we have a variety of options for sure.
So we will take this short break and then we'll be back to talk about what these kids are making in class today. Welcome back to Easy Eats. Again, we are in our newly renovated learning kitchen here with our L.H.S crew and their wrangler or their teacher Sarah. So let's talk about a little bit what they're making today.
Yes.
So this is the first class, and my first class I always try to do something really simple. It's a great way to gauge where they're at, because some kids will come at you like some know how to cook and it's fantastic, and some people are new to it, or mom and dad haven't let them explore the kitchen as much as they like. So this is a great way for me to find out how everything works with them, and then we can just adapt in the following classes. So today we're making 2 soups and we're making some drop biscuits. So we've got the crew making some chicken noodle soup. Everyone needs to know how to make some chicken noodle soup. And then corn chowder. Corn chowder is my favorite, and what's nice about corn chowder is it can become a seafood chowder, it can become a potato chowder. You can kind of adapt it. So these recipes are great for learning how to do that. And it's great to have a couple soup recipes in your
sure.
back pocket.
Yeah.
And then who can have soup without biscuits? So I am showing everyone how to make drop biscuits. And drop biscuits are a little less complicated than the traditional roll out and make sure. These are a great go-to. They're fast, they're simple, they're easy. My boys, when I make stew or I make anything like that, they'll jump in and they'll make these right away.
Okay.
So it's a really fast and simple recipe.
Well, it's already starting to smell so good in here, but I'm just curious about what we have for the specific recipes.
So the recipes are, like I said, we've got a corn chowder. Really basic, it's really simple. So it's bacon, corn, canned corn works great.
Okay.
It's stuff that you find in the pantry. A lot of the stuff that you would find in our food boxes as well. So, or stuff that you can grow at home. That's kind of what we use. And then the biscuits. Let's go back to these biscuits right here. So, really simple, you bring the batter together, you grab an ice cream scoop or a spoon, or you can use your hands, and you can twist them up, and then you put them on a sheet, and then we're just gonna slide these in an oven. About 400, 425 for about 15 to 18 minutes.
Okay.
You'll see as soon as they start getting golden brown, and when you pick them up, they're feather light.
Okay.
And that's when you know they're ready. So we'll just pop those guys in here. Just like that, we'll let them go. We've got them on a high fan, that'll give them a little bit of lift. And then we have chicken noodle soup, and like I said, chicken noodle soup's a great way to use up different type of leftovers too.
Exactly, yeah.
If you get a rotisserie chicken or you have some leftover chicken from the night before, what do you do with it? It goes great in the soup. And again, it's all stuff that you have on hand. You always have carrots, you always have celery, you always kind of have onions in your pantry.
Yeah.
So it's something really, really simple. And a noodle soup can be any noodle you have. So if you have macaroni, you can use macaroni. If you have egg noodle, then that works too. If you don't want to put noodles in it, that works. If you don't have chicken, you can use beef, you can use whatever kind of leftovers. And then the chowder is the same thing. We're showing you a basic chowder recipe that can kind of be transformed. So if you want to turn that into a seafood chowder, you omit the corn and then you add your seafood. And that kind of works that way. Or if you wanted to make a different type of chowder, and we're going back to the biscuits. The biscuits can be sweet, or they can be savory. So today our group put cheddar cheese in it, which works great for both of these soups. But if you wanted a sweeter one, we'd add a little bit of sugar to it, and it'd be great for in a month or so from now when the strawberries are in season and we want to get those strawberry shortcakes going. Now these guys have a recipe in their back pocket to make these beautiful drop biscuits for a really simple, quick dessert. Okay, so what we're going to do here is you've got your prep, or the fancy word for prep is called mise en place. So we'll just kind of get everything together, and then once everything's cut, then it's easier for you guys to assemble. So that's always a good idea, is you get your recipe, you get everything cut, because things come together quickly. And sometimes if you're cutting one thing at a time, say you're putting your onions in there, they may burn before you get the bacon cut or before you get the peppers cut, things like that. So just try to get everything ready, and then when you're putting it together, it just comes together quick. And at the same time, you clean as you go. And if you clean as you go, it just makes things simpler. And then, like everyone else, at the end of the day, you don't want to enjoy a good meal and then have to do your dishes afterwards. If you clean as you go, then you can sit down and enjoy your meal.
No, it's great that they're able to learn something that can be so adaptable, learning the basics, and then, like you said, just substituting any maybe veggies that they have, just understanding how that kind of the base is made is really beneficial for them, for sure.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that. So the recipe it's kind of like the blueprint, and hopefully these guys are listening while they're cooking, and I know that they've got a good. But basically that's what it is. Is the recipe is just a guide, and once you follow that guide and you understand. I compare it to a builder. So a builder who works at, say, Maple Leaf Homes or something like that, they build farmhouses and they make those houses day in and day out. Now for them, they follow the blueprints, and after they've made their 7th or 10th home, they kind of know what's going on. And then someone says, well, I want 2 windows on the south end of my building, not on the north end. Well, they can easily switch it up. And the same thing with these recipes. The recipes are adaptable. So it's whatever you find in your pantry. You don't have to go out somewhere special to buy it unless you want to go out and buy it. And that's basically what I'm kind of showing these kids today, is just kind of work with what you have and just kind of create some skills. So when you're working, let's just make sure that everything is out of your way. You've got all kinds of room. So if you give yourself some space, then if you don't crowd your cutting board, then you have You're less likely for accidents and stuff like that. So I've got a great group, and this is the first time I've met them. So again, today is a great way to find out where they're at. And then we're going to kind of chat later on while we're tasting the food about what they want to learn next week. And that's what's nice about this program is I don't have anything set in stone. We kind of learn what they want to learn. So if they want to learn how to make something, well then I will adapt some recipes. Or say if one of our students here may be halal or diabetic or gluten-free, well then I can adjust the recipes to make sure that everyone's included.
Yeah, that's very nice.
When you're making soup, what I like to do is I want to make sure that I can fit everything that I've cut on one spoonful. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Cut that bad boy into 4 and then you'll be laughing.
For the bigger end of the celery, do you want me to split it in half so the pieces are smaller?
Absolutely. So I'll show you what I'm looking for. So when you're working, you want to make sure that everything's flat all the time. And we'll just cut some of the blemishes out, and then you can just keep on cutting that way.
All right, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So our biscuits are ready, and they look beautiful. Look at that.
Perfect.
So we can tell by the color that they're fantastic.
Nice and golden.
And then when you pick them up, they're almost weightless.
Oh wow, yeah. Smells delicious.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, these are great, and it's great. You can make them, they freeze really well, so you can make a big batch, toss them in the freezer, keep them frozen, and then they'll be thawed by lunchtime.
Perfect.
So for students who may be living on their own or mom and dad want them to have a little bit more independence, they can start making their own stuff.
Perfect.
Awesome. Let's get back to that soup.
Okay.
So keep on stirring that. So what we want to do is we want to render that bacon down. So let's get that almost crispy. That's okay, because we're going to be adding the stock, right?
You're doing great over there, focusing on doing like all your mise en place at once. That's good, getting focused on the one thing at a time, getting everything cut up, and then we can add it into our pot. You're doing great.
We'll let that cook down a little bit. So when we're building bases of flavor, so we want that bacon to get nice and crispy. Once that bacon's in there and it gets a little bit crispy, we'll add the onions. We'll let those get soft. And then we'll add our potatoes. The last thing we're going to add is our corn, okay? And then once the corn's in, we'll add the milk, we'll add the chicken stock, and then we'll add the seasonings. This biscuit recipe is really nice. We mentioned before that we're not adding sugar to this. If we can add sugar, and then these make a lovely thing. If you're going to make like a strawberry shortcake or anything like that, you can use those biscuits. But if you're adding savory, and because we're making these soups today, you want a kind of a savory biscuit. So a savory biscuit, you can add your garlic, you could add whatever. We can add cheese. Now, you had asked me, Talon, how much cheese? I always measure with my heart. So I just grab a little sprinkle, and really it's just kind of dusted over top. And then we'll mix that all in together, okay? Your next step is to do onions. So I'm going to show you how to dice an onion really, really quick. Okay? So all we're going to do is you're going to take this end right here, but you're going to want to leave that root on, okay? We're just going to cut a little bit just like that. And you're going to slide that down like this. And then we're just going to peel a little bit like that. And then the reason why we keep the root on is because it holds everything together. So when I cut it, I'm just going to slide and bring it down, but not quite through. So you see how we've got this lovely kind of fan going on? And then we're just going to cut it like that. There you go. Just like this, and then you get diced onion. So I'll get you to do those 2 other onions, and then we'll almost be ready to get your soup started. Okay?
Is there a specific way that we have to get the skin off?
Well, yeah, skin on garlic can be super tedious, so here we go. Let me borrow your knife for a second, and I'll totally show you what I do. So we'll just move this out of the way, pop that in the corner, just like that. So this one's almost peeled, which is not that bad, but what you usually do, what I do is I grab my knife, I put it down, and then I just give it a whack. It crushes it, but when it crushes, you can peel that garlic just like that. Move that off to the side, and all we're going to do now is you're just going to slice it really thin and then go over it until it's as minced as you want it.
Thank you, Chef Yves.
So when you're cutting something, roll your fingers like this and tuck your thumb behind. So when you're cutting, see how it's sliding on my knuckle? And I'm using my knuckle as a guide to get those nice and thin. Okay? There you go. Welcome back to Easy Eats, again in our newly renovated learning kitchen. And yeah, this is a little bit of what we do here in our class with L.H.H.S, or any kind of school group that comes in. We work on the basics. So today, these young folks will be able to go home with some lovely corn chowder and some chicken noodle soup and these lovely biscuits. For your bacon, really simple. We'll take it out of the package, just like that. I like using it semi-frozen, but unfortunately we don't have that luxury. So all we're gonna do is just gonna cut it into small chunks just like that. We'll hold that off to the side, and then for the chicken, basically just chunks about that big. Okay? So put that, and then just put everything back into these containers.
Okay, do you want me to cut up all this bacon?
Absolutely. No, cut up all that bacon, put it in there. Once that's done, take the chicken out and do the chicken, put it in there, and then we'll leave that there, and then we'll wash our area again, okay? What a better way to spend a Thursday morning.
I know, I've been thoroughly enjoying my morning. I've seen some thumbs up from the students behind the camera, so I think they've all thoroughly enjoyed this, especially a few of them. It's their first time here. I think they'll be very excited to come back for the next few weeks.
Absolutely, and there's only one rule in my kitchen. If you leave hungry, that's your fault, not mine. So once we have our mise en place together, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of oil to the pan, right like that. And then, like I said, we're starting to build our flavors. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna grab some of these onions, just like that, and pop those in, just like that. And then we're going to cook those onions down just a little bit, and we'll grab some of that garlic that we've got right over there. Let's pop that right in my hand right here. And you can say, you know what I mean? Nothing's perfect, but that's okay. It might be a little bit messy, but that's okay, because that's part of the cooking fun as well. So we're just going to stir that for a little bit until it's called sweating it down. So what we want to do is we want to cook it down until it starts to smell really nice, and you're gonna see that everything starts to get translucent and sweat. It's kind of like you, when you get warm, you kind of sweat, and it's releasing its juices. And then after that, what we're gonna do is, that's sweat a little bit, so we're gonna add our celery to that, just like that. And then we'll add our carrots, and we'll add our peppers, and we'll let that cook up until we get probably about 4 or 5 minutes. And once that feels comfortable, then we'll add our potatoes, our corn, and then we'll add our milk, and we'll add our stock. If you add salt at the beginning, then and it tastes good, what happens is that everything starts to reduce, and when it starts to reduce, it'll get saltier. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yes, thanks for
telling
having
us a little bit about the learning program that you guys have going on L.H.H.S. I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of people that learning the traditional way doesn't work for them.
Right.
We need to be able to reach these kids, reach anybody really. And it's great that the schools are starting to adapt for differently abled or differently wired people to be able to be successful at school.
Yes, and we appreciate, like we said, any partnerships, community partnerships we can do, but this is one, again, the students that have been here in the past, we're talking it up to everybody else, saying how much they've enjoyed this class. Like I said, it's very different from a lot of different community outreach that schools are usually able to do, and like we said, building life skills, leaving with yummy food as well is always a bonus. So we appreciate it.
And that's our mission. Our mission is to teach food security and most of all food literacy. So I think partnering up with schools like you guys is the perfect match here for the Learning Kitchen.
Yes, awesome.